Good evening, bonsoir, bienvenue à la réunion plénière le 12 décembre. Madame Saint-Laurent, est-ce que nous avons des déclarations de conflit d'intérêts? Parfait. Nous avons une présentation.
The first presentation tonight is Snow and Ice Management 2022-2023 by the City Engineer Matthew Abernathy.
Good evening, everyone. Thank you for having me. Just like we do every year, we usually do a kind of an update on our procedures, our snow and ice procedures for the upcoming winter. I know everybody's missing the snow very much and anxious to get some this week, so I just want to give everybody a heads up on our operations before we get going. So the objective of the Public Works Department is that the city's snow and ice control program strive to maintain the safety of the transportation network, allowing users to function as normally as possible under adverse weather conditions. So as normally as possible is important to notice there. Obviously, people need to drive to the conditions if things get severe out there and be as safe as they can for that time period where we can kind of get things back to normal again. So I'll just kind of go through a couple of our routes and different things that people should expect out there. So we have two main emergency routes in the city. So they're basically all of our main collector streets. There's the level of service to be expected on those streets is basically bare full width all the time. We're gonna strive to keep that down to the paved so that emergency vehicles can get, really from point A to point B across the city quickly. And then whenever they get into the local roads where the level of service isn't as good, then they'll have to slow down a little bit. But as long as they can kind of make it across the city in record time, that's what we're looking to achieve with those emergency routes. It's bare full width, so they're going to be plowed continually during a storm, and also they'll be sanded, or sorry, not sanded, but salted to ensure that that stays right down to the bare pave as best as we can. So at times like right now, what we'll experience a lot of the time is a lot of moisture in the air and kind of some changes in temperature and formation of black ice every once in a while. Those emergency routes are supposed to stay, like I said, bare full width and very drivable. A couple of times already this year, we did notice some kind of flash freezes first thing in the morning. We are looking into the possibility of having some forecasting software that'll kind of give us an idea of humidity on the road surface and dew points and everything else that'll give us a better idea of when that's going to occur before, so we can get our trucks out there ahead of time, so instead of being reactive, being a little more proactive. So we're looking to improve that this year, just a note there. So in the event of snowstorms severe enough to stop plowing on the emergency runs, plow operators will remain on standby for emergency services. So if it really gets crazy out there, visibility is bad, and it's too dangerous for our plow operators to be out there, we'll have them on standby for police, ambulance, and fire to get where they need to be if there is an emergency. So rest assured, even if we are pulling them off, they're still available for emergency services. All right. So this is plow route 1. No changes on this one. Everything's pretty much remaining the same. So as you can see, it's all of your main collectors, and then there's a couple of school routes and things like that that are kind of side streets, but that's the reason for those. That's the only spots where there's non-main collectors would be the school zones and the hospital, obviously. And this would be Route 2. A couple of changes on Route 2 they were put in place last year, but I don't think I mentioned them because they were kind of done halfway through the year. But Sutherland Avenue has been added to the route, and the reason for that is the storm surge escape route from Karen and Bayshore. There's a very low point on Karen Drive there that gets drifted in and is a possibility of flooding during a storm surge. So we've added Sutherland as kind of an alternate route to exit Karen Point in the event of a storm surge. The one drawback with that is Sutherland was never really on the emergency route, so during the wintertime it was frozen all year long. We noticed after last year a pretty severe deterioration of the road just by having it on 1 year on the emergency route. So we're going to be keeping an eye on that, and it's also triggering other things that we're looking at, in the sense that are there streets on the emergency route that don't need to be on the emergency route? And Union Avenue is one that, Union Street, I guess you'd say, is one that came to mind. Union was on the emergency route when the train bridge on Murray Avenue was out of service. Once that train bridge was put back on, it was never removed. So it really isn't supposed to be on the emergency route. So we're going to be removing it off the emergency route this year. So it's important for the people of Union Street to understand the reason why their street won't be salted through the whole year. It'll have the same level of service as York Street or Millhaven or any of the other streets in that area, because the main emergency route is Murray Avenue and King Avenue and not Union Street. So 2 points to note there: Sutherland is on the emergency route, Union will be taken off the emergency route and will not receive salt this year. All right. So local plow route. So this is a different level of service than your emergency route. Okay, so local plow routes are all your local streets, your side streets, and so those are handled by a mix of contractors and city employees. So Route 2, which is Parkwood Heights, is handled by city employees, but pretty well every other local route is handled by contractors. So the plowing for those routes really only starts after 8 centimeters of accumulation. And so if we get 5 centimeters, 6 centimeters, a lot of the time you won't see any plows go out at all. You'll just kind of see the traffic pack that down and create a snowpack base. But the danger with that is if you kind of get some varying temperatures, it'll turn to ice, and then things get really slippery, so we have to go and put sand. So the guys are constantly monitoring whether or not they're going to be going out for those lower accumulation storms. So it's something to keep in mind, that the level of service on those side streets, to have a snow-packed road, that's completely normal on those side streets. If we were to keep them to the same level of service as the emergency route, we'd blow our budget, and we wouldn't be able to maintain, because the cost of salt is significant and rising every year. So we're trying to really reduce our salt usage as much as we can. So our target completion time on local plow routes is within 8 hours of the end of the storm for a storm of 15 centimeters or less, and within 16 hours of the end of the storm for 16 centimeters or more. So that's kind of everything cleaned up, everything wide open, and ready to go. So if we do get a foot of snow by the 10 centimeter, 15 centimeter mark, the plows should be out there kind of making things passable so that people can get around. That's not going to be your final cleanup. The final cleanup will be 16 hours after the storm. They should have passed around, pushed everything back, make sure everything was nice and wide. That's your final completion. So if you're upset with how the snow clearing looks, make sure you wait until that period after the storm has ended, when we can get out there and do that final cleanup before you make your phone calls and give the guys some time to get out there and get that stuff cleaned up. So a note here on the salting: local streets are not continually salted. They're sanded as needed if conditions are dangerous. So really, if you live on a street that's a 50 kilometer hour speed limit, it's straight, there's no big hills or reduced visibility and turns or anything like that, we're not going to touch that a whole lot with sand and salt. We expect people to be able to manage that fairly effectively. If it turns into a skating rink, we'll get out there and hit it with sand. But for the most part, that's going to be left as a snowpack road, and we won't be going out and sanding and salting that. You will notice on hills and intersections and places like that, we'll hit that with a dose of sand to make sure the traction is maintained in those more dangerous areas. Okay, so sidewalks, very similar to local streets. They should be plowed within 8 hours of the completion of the storm for 15 centimeters or less, and within 16 hours of the storm for 15 centimeters or more. Sidewalks, we don't maintain open during a storm, so you won't see the sidewalk plows go out halfway through a storm, make a pass, and then go. We'll wait till the storm is done, and then we'll go and we'll give everything a pass. Normally, downtown will get hit just so things can kind of keep moving a little bit. And another thing that our plow operators will do on our main streets is they'll wing the sidewalk back to give everybody a spot to walk on the sidewalks. On St. Peter's, St. Anne Street, the busier streets. So they'll open up the sidewalks with the wing on the plow, and then after the storm is all done, we'll go and clean everything up with our trackless afterwards. So priority is given to school zones in the downtown business district, and then sidewalks are scraped and sanded as needed in order to maintain a safe walking condition as possible. So if anybody sees any really treacherous, icy conditions anywhere, we encourage them to call them in, because we don't have people out patrolling sidewalks, right? We have mostly streets, yes, but we can't have somebody out walking the sidewalk. So if there's any dangerous conditions out there, we do encourage people to call them in. We try and stay on top of it as best as we can, but if there's any spots that get missed, we certainly do want to be notified. So snow removal routes, these are where we're actually gonna go out with a snowblower and a truck and pick up the snow that doesn't have any room on the side of the street to be removed. The business area downtown, where we strive to maintain curbside access for all merchants downtown, for people parking and be able to get other vehicles safely. And so the priority areas are obviously Main Street downtown, 100, 200 block, King Avenue, 100, 200 block, Kennard Street, Douglas Avenue, basically that main business area downtown. And then if you look at this map here, these are the areas that get eventually hit throughout the storm. You may see this happen at night. You may see it happen during the day. You may see it happen in 16-hour intervals. Normally, for a 20 to 30 centimeter storm, we're looking at about 4 days to kind of get everything pretty well picked up. And that usually includes 2 night shifts and then 4-day shifts. That'll usually get everything cleaned up. We did purchase a smaller snowblower for our Versatile, which is enabling us to kind of get out into the extremities a little faster because it doesn't load into trucks. It just blows onto the side into ditches and everything else. So we've seen a pretty good improvement there. When I first started Public Works, we were looking at a week plus to get all that snow removal done, and the guys are really tightening things up and getting it done significantly faster. All right. So I just want to go through a couple of reasons for delays so everybody understands the types of things that we're dealing with. So the effectiveness of the operation is highly dependent on the snow conditions. So sometimes a little dusting of light snow is very easy to take care of. If you get 30 centimeters plus, obviously it's going to be more difficult. The moisture content in that snow is going to be really difficult to deal with as well. If you get really wet, heavy snow, the sidewalks are going to be extremely difficult for the guys to blow with the tracklesses. So the type of snow will vary. So if everybody is very used to having it all cleaned up within 6 hours, then we get a big dump of heavy wet snow, it's going to be a different condition. So we'd like people to understand that. On-street parking overnight, we certainly want everybody to respect the bylaw of no on-street parking between 11 p.m. and 7 a.m. Downtown. Wind is a big one for us. We can see situations where we'll finish plowing after a storm and the wind will just continue for 3-4 days straight. So there's areas on certain streets that are completely blocked and we have operators going steady, just going to those drifting areas. So we will make sure people are kind of aware of those areas. Karen Point's really bad, Bridge Street, there's a few areas that are a little tricky, so they should watch out for that even after the roads have been plowed, if there's a chance that that's been drifted back in, and we need to get back out there and push that back. So rapidly changing conditions. This brings up our cycle time. So I mentioned earlier we have 2 emergency runs. In a storm situation where they're plowing and salting at the same time, our cycle time can vary anywhere between 4 and 6 hours on those. So in the event where we're getting 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 centimeters per hour, you can just imagine the accumulation that can happen in that cycle time. So if we only have 3 trucks and 2 runs, what we're going to normally do is have 2 trucks go out on the runs, keep doing their cycles, and then we'll send a 3rd truck to go hit Village Hill, Tetegush Hill, and just kind of keep that open the entire time, because if we don't do that, we'll have a lot of vehicles stuck on those hills. We learned that lesson the hard way, obviously, over the last couple of years. So I keep knocking that off, don't I? Sorry about that. It's either loose or something. Okay. All right. Employee availability, we do struggle sometimes around the holidays to get guys in, and contractors are less and less interested with doing municipal snow removal, when insurance rates are going through the roof and everything, so it's a little more difficult to get contractors available when our guys are available. For the most part, our guys are available, they do a great job, but we get the odd time where it is difficult. Mechanical breakdowns are a fairly constant problem for us. We have been lucky enough to purchase a couple of new salt trucks over the last few years, so our level of service for our emergency routes has gone significantly better than in the past. But our snow blowers, our loaders, and our salt trucks, we still encounter mechanical problems with them, so it's something to keep in mind as well. And then extreme cold temperatures. The effectiveness of salt is we only really see it effective until -15 or so, and then after that it's not melting the ice anymore. So in that situation we'll go with sand, and there's a point where we have to make that change. So Extreme cold temperatures will affect the emergency route in the sense that you'll have a layer of ice on there, and it could be for a week, it could be for a week and a half. So people need to understand that there's literally nothing we can do in that situation. A grader even won't scratch that ice off of the road. So, and whenever that happens, it's usually province-wide. You'll hear the province talking about the highways and everything else. It's not because of something that was not done or done improperly. It's a condition of a fast freeze and then a deep cold and it just setting in and not being able to handle it. So those are some things that will affect our day-to-day operations for sure. So that's it for the presentation. I just want to throw a big thank you out to our snow removal crews. They worked long hours. I want to make sure that everybody out there in the public are try and be as respectful as they can to those guys. They don't really make the decisions on where they go and where they push the snow or anything like that. So if anybody in the public has an issue with what's going on out there, we encourage them to call Public Works as opposed to, you know, talking to somebody out in a loader who's just trying to get the job done. You know, pick up the phone and give us a call, and we can deal with it at Public Works. So.
All right. So we're lit up, but Mr. Pettigrew, you wanted to add something?
Thank you, Worship. Mr. Abernathy, would you be able to? You talked about cycle time a little bit. I think it'd be important to update the public and council as well, and give them an update on cycle time for our plowing routes when we have large storm events. After 8 centimeters, what's the typical time for a normal plowing route? And if it's a continuous storm, sometimes do you have to restart over, or is it, you know, could you give a little explanation on that as well?
Yeah, that's a great point. So we have, like I said, we had 8 different plow routes. They're all about the same kilometerage, but they're very different in the sense that some of them have a lot of twisty turns, some tight areas, and some more turnarounds to push back and things like that. So the cycle time on those plow routes should be very consistent, but they vary widely from one route to another. So route 1 could be a 4-hour cycle time or a 6-hour cycle time, whereas some of our longer routes are 8-9 hour cycle times. So in the event of a larger storm, we'll usually ask our guys to hold off a little bit. I know we have a kind of a standard there of continue to start plowing at 8 centimeters. But if we reach that 8 centimeter mark and the snow is supposed to stop in 2 hours, we're not going to send them out at 8 centimeters and then have them have to start over again because it continued snowing after they had already gone by. So we'll push that a little bit so they can catch everything in one shot instead of having to go around twice. That's basically a cost-saving measure. If you look at it throughout the whole year, it happens quite a bit. So it does save hours on those runs every time. But if you're seeing inconsistency in your plow route, then that's something that should be notified to Public Works. And what's going on there is, you know, one day he's plowing up the road that way, and the next day he's plowing the other way. How come? What's that all about? It should be consistent. It shouldn't be different every single time. So that is a good point to bring up. If you're seeing consistency, that's normal. Unfortunately, there has to be a start of the run and there has to be an end of the run. And if you're at the end of the run, you could be looking at anywhere from 6 to 9 hours before you get plowed out. So something to keep in mind for sure.
All right. I do have a couple of questions before we go to council. So just for the public, so they're aware, how many kilometers of street do we have in the city limits?
There's about 200 kilometers, so it's over 450 lane kilometers, I believe. Yeah.
400, okay, all right. And hauling the snow is quite expensive as well. So we're talking about salt, which for people, it's almost doubled in price. It just keeps going up, plus the insurance for the contractors. So hauling the snow and cleaning up the snow, we spend over $1 million a year if it's on a good year?
That's a good question. I mean, our budgets are divided in a certain way where when you say hauling the snow or cleaning up the snow, if you look at the entire snow budget, like wages and hired equipment and everything else, yeah, it is close to $1 million with salt and everything as well.
Okay.
But specifically on hauling snow, you're probably looking at $300,000 or $400,000 a year just hauling the snow. Yeah.
Just to pick up snow and dump it somewhere else.
Yeah.
So, okay, it's unbelievable.
And our salt cost, if you're interested, we are looking at upwards of $275,000 per year.
Just for salt.
Yeah.
Yeah. Just so people know out there. So, and what I am going to ask is, please be patient with the contractors and the city employees. Some of them, you know, when we're home in that warm, cozy, some have fireplace, some have just electric heat. They're working in a coal, and sometimes they work 12, 16 hours. So it's long nights and long days. So please be patient and be kind because we do appreciate them, because they're the ones on the road to make sure that we have access. So we do have a few lights. Councillor Knowles.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Yeah, in regards, we have 8 plow routes in the city and 7 are serviced by contractors. Do we have enough contractors in place going into 2023 right now to handle that load, all the different routes in the city?
Yeah, it's, we work on a 3-year contract basis, and this is year 3 of a 3-year contract, so at the moment, everybody is still.
So we're good going into 2023?
Yep.
Okay, thank you.
Councillor Burnett.
Thanks, Madam Mayor. Good presentation. The question I have is how do we get this presentation out to everybody? We have to let people know what's going on. I don't know how many people are watching the meeting tonight or will, but to get this presentation out to the general public, I think is essential because it's common sense in a lot of places, and it shows how hard they work to clean the routes and what they're facing. But for everybody to understand that, how do we get that message out there? That's what I would like our team to look at. And sure, they can go to the city site, but sometimes it's hard to find that stuff in the city site. You get lost in the city site. But maybe we have to take note of that and clear that up, and some way or another communicate to the public why their street is not being plowed right away, and the main routes and the flood areas and stuff like that. You know, very important. Sutherland is a small street, but it has to be maintained in order to get people out in case there's a storm surge, which I don't know if anybody's been watching lately, but the high tides are unreal this fall. Just abnormal. The other thing I have is the change in temperatures. Like last week at this time, it was pouring rain. Tonight it's -10, and we're lucky enough that we didn't have any snow in between. But other times I've noticed we've had snow like the small amount, like 5, 6, 7, 8, and you don't get there, and it turns to slush, and then it turns to ice as quickly as the temperature changed. And you have ice on the streets there for 2 weeks, sometimes maybe longer. So do you look at the weather conditions as far as slush and get out more often, or try to repeat your routes, as our city manager said, to start the cycle over again? Because even that much slush on your road and you're meeting cars coming and going in your subdivision, it's pretty dangerous, you know. So.
Yeah, so the snow team are constantly looking at that. It's not only what's it look like right now, what's it going to look like tomorrow. So if we do have a situation where we may have a flash freeze or something like that, or some freezing rain coming after snow, they'll leave the snow on the road so that the freezing rain can get absorbed by the snow instead of plowing, and then everything turns into a skating rink. So that kind of stuff does happen all the time. They can't get it right every single time, obviously, so you're going to get a situation where there's going to be some ice sometimes. But they're looking down the road at what Mother Nature is going to do, and is she going to help us? Is she going to hurt us? How are we going to kind of bob and weave with that? And I had mentioned the software. I think that's going to help us quite a bit on that as well, coming up in this year. So we're excited to get working on that.
The last point I have is walkers. There's a lot of people that walk regularly now, you know, and they expect to walk right away after a storm, and you can't. You know, we have the Civic Center with a great walking track, and maybe we should be promoting that more to the people that call and say sidewalks aren't up to snuff. Well, you're just up for a leisurely walk for your health. That's great, but maybe you have to use Civic Center for 4 days until we get all the sidewalks done. The communication again to the public, because we do have the infrastructure for you to stay healthy. It's just not the sidewalks for 4 or 5 or 6 days, you know.
Exactly, exactly. Especially in the winter, because I know for myself, I go at KCI, and I mean, a membership is nothing for a year.
Yeah.
Go walking at KCI.
And I noticed not enough, I shouldn't use that word. I noticed a lot of students from the community college walking to get their groceries, to go to the stores and stuff. Do we take any special consideration around the community college for widening the road so that these students can get to the different grocery stores, et cetera, that they use?
The widening is typically for to ensure that 2 vehicles can pass. It's not, you know, wherever there's no sidewalks, it's not really paid attention to. So I know exactly where you mean. The train bridge area there on College Street is certainly one that's very tricky. That's actually a spot where we can't get underneath that bridge with our snow clearing equipment. We have to go there with a trackless and clear the road with a sidewalk machine. So it's difficult to get that cleaned up. It's certainly something I can mention to the crews, but that street there, College Street, it's paved shoulders, so we can get there with our wings. So that should be wide enough for walkers immediately after a storm in a normal situation. It's that train bridge area there where we can't get our plow trucks in there with the wings, that things really get tightened up, because if people drive on that, it packs it down, and then you can't scrape it with the little trackless. So it's kind of a chicken or the egg situation there, in the sense that you can't get there, and then it gets packed down, and then when it gets packed down, you can't clear it because you can't bring your big equipment in there. So it's something that the guys will keep an eye on for sure, to try and alleviate that.
Because we want these students here, you know, we want that community college full as we can. And I think it's important to try to service their needs, because our students don't walk that much. You don't see the locals, but we see the community college students that come in from away, they do.
Well, if all goes to plan, we'll have public transportation hopefully within a year. Just saying.
Yeah, I opened the door for that one, didn't I?
Yeah, you did. You did.
Just
I
to
got
answer
the
your
study.
to answer your question on the notification of the public, this will be going out on our social media feeds. We also have some more information to add to it, as far as some tips to help you clear your driveway in an efficient manner, to kind of alleviate that second pass by the plow from filling your driveway back in, things like that. And also the location of your snow pickets and things like that. We encourage residents to put their snow pickets at 4 feet from the travel roadway. That's what we let our operators know, that if you see pickets, expect the edge of the roadway to be 4 feet from that picket. That way we don't take out the pickets, and we know where the edge of our roadway is. So.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Thanks, Matt.
Councillor Willett.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. The question, you said 10 centimeters of heavy snow is just as worse as 30 centimeters of the light stuff. So do we have the ability to tell the contractors, if we get 4 centimeters of heavy snow, to go out and do it and not wait for the 8 centimeters? Or
They go out at our call. It's the snow team makes the call.
Okay.
The person who's on emergency response will decide things are getting crazy out there, we need to send them out early. That happens on a daily basis. Yeah.
Okay, thank you.
All right. Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Mapper.
Thank you.
So our second presentation tonight is Bathurst Sports Hall of Fame event update by recreational programmer Jacob Button.
Hi, everyone.
Hi, how are you?
Good.
We were making small talk about Christmas prior to the meeting. Children, grandchildren, Christmas trees.
Yeah, that time of year.
Time of year.
But yeah, thank you for having me. My name is Jacob. I think I've had the chance to meet all of you by now, but yeah, thank you for having me. Great to be here. So yeah, we just had our Bathurst Sports Hall of Fame. It's been a few years since our last one. Obviously, because of the pandemic, everything was put on hold, as with many other activities. So we try to hold it every 2 years on the even year. But yeah, we were able to finally bring it back November 2022. So November 12th was when we had our ceremony there. And yeah, so since last we had our ceremony in 2018, we have made some changes. Since I've been with the committee in May, we've had 5 meetings, we've updated some policies, I digitized the nomination procedures so people can access them online. We currently have 6 members on our board. So we have Councillor Ricky Hondas, who is our representative with City Council. We have Paul, who previously was with the city, Paul Thibodeau, Bob Sullivan, Scott Ferguson, and Diane Guinard. We are looking for more members, but we'll talk on that later. We've had 5 meetings this past year to kind of get things up to speed, and we've kind of modernized the policy and procedure. I believe you all had a chance to look at that back in August. But yeah, it's good to be back. Obviously, there was a lot of energy around bringing this event back. We were very happy that we could see this finally come back and be in person and all that, and that was good to see. So like I said, we normally hold it every 2 years, but because of the pandemic, we had to put it on hold, but we had it November 12th at Gowan Bray Golf and Country Club. 2022 inductees, I'm sure you all know by now, but they were the Bathurst BHS girls volleyball team from 1988 to 1991. We had Jackie Roy and then Diane Guinard as our inductees. So on the night, the ceremony, just to give you a little overview, if any of you have, I guess we had some of you in attendance this year, but as with all the other years, we started with a opening ceremony. This year we had the 275 Sea Cadets and the 640 Air Cadets actually march in our inductees and stand at attention for the national anthem. We had opening remarks from Deputy Mayor Penny Anderson on behalf of Mayor Kim Chamberlain, so that was lovely. We had lots of dignitaries, local business individuals, organizations, and a good representation from City Council, so that was all nice to see. We also had sent out invitations to a lot of previous inductees and invitees, and people that really celebrate sport and success in the community. We had a lot of good attendance from them as well, so that was nice to see. The meal, as always, was great, so that was fun. We started off with Jackie Roy, who was nominated by Victor Obi. Then Diane Guinard was inducted. Following her, it was the girls volleyball team. We had little speeches for all of them, as well as, you may recall, we have the videos from Folk Media Video that we have a presentation for each of them. Each inductee was presented their picture, a plaque, which will be going in the Hall of Fame. They're given a memory stick, and then which has a copy of the video presentation on it, little Hall of Fame pen, and a certificate to commemorate their success. So in review, a lot of information on this page here, but in total we had 27 new people be inducted. So that was Jackie Roy, Diane Guinard, and then 25 members from that volleyball team. In total we had 187 people attend the event, so that worked out to 125 tickets sold, and then 62 complimentary tickets. We had 5 cash donations, as well as 25 silent auction donations from 15 different local businesses and organizations in our community. So that was really great, brought in a lot more support. We have currently 14 active nominations still going on. We received 5 new ones in 2022. And overall, my personal thoughts, I think the night was a success. We met our goal of celebrating sports excellence in the community. We met our purpose as we had set out in our policy document. Like I'd said previously, we saw lots of community support from a lot of previous inductees, whether they live from away or locally. A lot of different supporters of sport in our community were present, so that was really nice to see. And a couple, I guess, things that I would like to have tightened up for next time. It ran quite a bit longer than I was expecting. As those in attendance, I was hoping to have it kind of tied up around 9:30, 10 o'clock, and I think it was 11:16 or so when we were finishing up there. So definitely way too late for people. We need to get people home a little bit quicker. But things that we're going to work on next time, things that were out of our control. This was, I know Donna and the serving staff, she told me that the 187, they did say we could get to maybe 200, but 187 was pushing the serving staff to their limits. So those things do take time, getting all those meals out to everyone. But also, we can definitely try to stay more on track with our nomination, and the inductee speeches ran a little over their 5 or 8 minute time limits there. So definitely things we can tie up next time. Also maybe looking at different MCs and things like that might be able to, keep things moving a little bit smoother there. Other things that we noticed, obviously, as big topic in the news now, inflation and cost of everything has gone up, so we noticed that as well. And then also with this style of one, having a team being inducted, just the significant number of complimentary tickets, something that we could, we're kind of discussing that with the board currently, maybe not giving out so many complimentary tickets, ways to save on that cost there as well. So now on to the financials here. So in 2022, this is our revenue versus expenses. So our silent auction, like I had said, We had multiple different silent auction items, so our revenue was $1,699. Ticket sales, so that was the 125 tickets that we sold would make the 5,625. We kept the ticket price at $45 this time. You know, we didn't want to rise it too much. We had heard in the past that people already felt that was, you know, a little pricey, but as with food costs increasing, we did need to keep it at least at 45. And then expenses, so video presentation, so that is the folk media, the 3 videos that we present on the night, as well. Adam from folk media was our banquet photographer, so he was there taking photos and all of that. The awards, so that consists of the plaque, the certificates that are given to each of them, the memory sticks, all those little items. So that's the total, $1,486. The venue, so that's the Gowan Bray, all of the meals, the 187 meals, so that, you know, includes the complimentary tickets. As well, we typically do for the inductees a little wine and cheese board beforehand that they get to have upstairs. Marketing as well, so I typically want to advertise both to the local radio stations, so we use Bounce and CKLE, as well as Facebook boosted ads and such. So both at the start when we had the nomination call for new nominations, and then as well as when we were selling tickets, we had ads on the radio to help boost with that. Meetings and administration, so we had 5 meetings over the past year, as well as administrative costs, so we got new binders to hold all of the massive binders to hold all the nomination forms and such, and then postage. So like I'd said earlier, we sent out, I think it was 115 letters to previous inductees and invitees that, you know, we know support this event. I sent those letters out just asking them if they would consider coming to show their support to the current inductees. So the total there was, well, as you'll see on the next slide, I have a comparison. But just on the right there, those were some of the local businesses as well as the silent auction donors. So really a good showing there. This is just a comparison of 2018 versus 2022, just to give you an idea of how big those differences are. So things to note, in 2018, our revenue was $5,875. So we did have a decent increase there. $9,374 is our revenue in 2022. However, the costs have all gone up significantly. So, you know, video presentations, for instance, in 2018, they were $2,472. In 2022, $4,197. We also, something to note, we didn't have him as a photographer, but the actual being photographer of the venue was really not the biggest cost. It's the video, it's gone up significantly, as well as the venue. But again, we are significantly more tickets that there are people that we're feeding, so that's where that cost comes in. Marketing as well, costs have gone up there, and that is also with, we try to use, with Bounce, we use Shopico credits, so we have savings on our ads, and it still has gone up though. Otherwise, I don't have the details of like meeting, administrative, and postage from back then, so I may be missing some numbers from 2018. I wasn't a part of it at that point, but this is the best comparison that I could get there. And then this is just really giving you an idea of that percentage increase of just kind of cost there. So really, the summary here, the big take home is, yes, we did make more, but everything cost significantly more. So overall, we had 60% more in revenue, but overall the expenses went up an average of 59%. So things like, what do I have here? Well, I mean, things like our sponsorship. Yes, we got significantly more sponsorship, which is very great. That was, our board that was very diligent in going out, trying to solicit as much as support as they could. But then things like the venue went up 72% increase in price there. So again, a big thing is, yes, we had 187 people in attendance versus in 2018, I think it was about 115 people. But in 2018, we only had about 15 complimentary tickets versus we had 62 this round. So, all of these comparisons, I guess, we can take with a grain of salt because they are two different figures. But Overall, I think the night was a success. Like I said earlier, I think we definitely were able to celebrate sports in the region, and that is why we have this event. But just to take into account those costs there. On the horizon, what's next for us here? So as we had talked about, we try to do this every 2 years. So the next induction would be set to 2024, November 2024. We try to do it in the fall every year. Before that point, we are going to be looking at recruiting some new members to try to hopefully get some more energy into our board and some new interest, maybe some different sports that we haven't maybe had with our board before. Because we typically find, we have on our board different representations of different sports. So we're going to be calling for nominations in the next year to look at new board members. We try to have about 6 to 8 board members, so we'll be looking for that. And then we'll be calling a nomination for new inductees for March 2024. And from there, we will be looking at making the next induction. Other changes that we're going to be looking at in the meantime, we had talked about it this past year, but creating a new category. So right now we have the builder, we have the athlete and the team, but there's been talks about maybe like a volunteer category, manager category, something like that. We've talked about maybe shaking up the venue. It's always been more of a night, a fancy type gala, but perhaps we could do something more in the daytime, maybe more inclusive, more drop-in type of event, accommodating more just the general public to be able to come. Like I mentioned earlier, we're looking at different entertainers or different types of personalities that we might be able to have either as the MC for the evening, or some sort of entertainment just throughout the night to maybe entice new people and justify those costs. Other than that, we will continue with soliciting support through local fundraising and whatnot. We will look to shaking it up. And I have there as well fundraiser, just with the rising costs. We've talked about maybe some sort of golf tournament earlier in the summer. Or some other type of basketball event that we could have leading up to it to help generate some more fundraising to help make this event a possibility. But yeah, that is it for me. Thank you, and if you have any questions.
Deputy Mayor Anderson.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Jacob, one of the differences between 2018 and 2022, because I sat on the committee before I passed it over to Councillor Hondas, I was there for 2 separate Hall of Fame events. We didn't have a team.
Yes.
In 2018, so that's why the numbers were down versus this year, because when you have a team, that really brings up the attendance that you have.
Big time.
So that was the main issue there.
Yeah.
One thing I did notice about that night, and just something that I brought up, like the last one we had, was how you have the nominator go up and do a speech.
Yeah,
and then you have the video, and then you have the recipient.
And the nominator said the same thing as they said in the video.
Exactly. So I think it would make sense to cut out the nominator doing the big speech, because you have the videos are beautifully done.
Yeah.
They're so well done, and everything is in there. Because I really felt bad for the team this year, because like you said, it was 11:30 when we left there that night, and I felt that they didn't kind of get
the same representation.
Exactly, because everybody at that point was like, I just want to go home.
Yeah.
And we started quite late this year, so I think that was another factor, like later than schedule, so that was another factor that ran us late. But I think that just by getting rid of the nominator doing the speech,
it was a last minute thing that we added in. There was one of the nominators that asked 2 weeks before the event, I'd love to say a couple words.
Yeah.
So then we asked the other nominators, hey, I know we hadn't given you much preparation. Would you want to? They all said yes. But yes, you're absolutely right. After seeing the video, some of them almost like word for word repeated what they said.
Yeah.
It was, something that we tried this year, but it added significantly. But I mean, also, I had let all of the people that were going to speak know what their time limit was, and I don't think we had a single one stay on track. And that might be my first time being in the event. I was too nice and just stood there,
Gotta
but
hammer
next
down,
time I
Jacob.
will be stepping in and
You
telling
gotta
them.
put the cane around the neck and pull them
Yeah.
off, because some of them were there for a half an hour
Oh, I
rambling
know.
on.
Yeah.
Have
yeah.
a timer.
But
Yeah,
otherwise,
honestly.
it was well done. It was a good job. That would be my only suggestion.
Yeah, but you're absolutely right. A couple of the volleyball girls have actually reached out specifically for that, just saying, you know, they love the night and all that, but
I felt
they did
bad for
feel
them.
that, yeah.
Yeah,
they-
I did feel bad for them.
Yeah, it was too bad for sure, but I'm glad they were able to still be there, and obviously they were able to say a piece, but it did feel like it was too quick for them, for
Yeah,
sure.
it was, yeah.
Councillor Hondas?
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Jacob, thank you for a great job. As was my first year with it too, so I could have stepped in a few different times also. I guess we learn as we go. We'll both be there for 2024, and hopefully we can make some changes. I'd like the idea of it going out and get some more sponsors to make sure the night is a success. But as Deputy Anderson mentioned, the last couple of times there was no teams, and for this event to be successful, we need teams, and I think we have a lot of teams on the nomination block. So I'd like to thank council for their support for this event, something that was long overdue. It's been a while. I'm glad that we got it back on track, and hopefully it'll be bigger and better for 2024. And we can tweak a few things, and maybe the nominator shouldn't have a speech, or maybe just get up and present the plaque at the end of the video.
Yeah.
Like, you know, I think that would be an idea. It was long. I remember being an MC at one point, and I don't think it was that long. You know, maybe I'm better than what was there, but that's,
Well, I mean, it's
that's
even
just my
like the
point of view.
write-up, right? Like, we've historically, the MCs will read the write-up on the plaque.
Yeah.
But we could maybe eliminate that as well
Yeah.
and just have the videos, because again, the video, I mean, Adam spends like 2 months before he meets with everyone. Like, they were at Shal Bay, like, and even really like the week before the actual ceremony, there were a couple people that, due to somebody had passed in their family, they had last minute rescheduling, and he was still getting them in there, and you know, he worked tirelessly at that. So he really does get some cool stories from each of the family members. So yeah, I think there's really no need to add more repetitiveness to the night.
Yeah.
For sure. Yeah.
I can just finish, but then anybody that's interested in joining the committee, maybe get a hold of myself or Jacob, and
Yeah.
then it's a fun event, and it's really meant to be what it is, the sports excellence in our region. So in the Bathurst area, it's going to be a popular event every time that we have it. So anybody that wants to join, come on down. We need the help.
Absolutely. Thanks a lot.
Perfect. Oh, one more. Councillor Burnett?
Thanks, Madam Mayor. Thanks for your presentation. It was a great evening. I enjoyed it very much. But getting back to Madam Mayor, she said we have to more and more celebrate our people, celebrate our citizens, and that's what was done that night. Not only the sports part of it, but who we are. So again, thanks for that. It's a good way. And I know it's cost a little bit more, but really not that bad for how many people we celebrated.
Exactly. Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Good job. Great job.
Thank you.
Notre troisième présentation ce soir, c'est information concernant la réforme sur la gouvernance locale. C'est par les services de communication, M. Luc Foulem.
All right, thank you. Good evening, everybody. The general purpose for today's presentation is to give Council an overview of the communications approach regarding the local governance reform and the impact on the city, and with the new boundaries coming into play, the questions that citizens may have in this regard. Le but de la présentation de ce soir, c'est pour parler de notre initiative en communication concernant la réforme sur la gouvernance municipale, les enjeux citoyennes en lien avec ceci. As you know, we've got the information in regards to the budget that's been out, but insofar as the boundaries or any other questions, what are the services that are being offered? How will those services be impacted? How will they be adjusted come January 1st? The citizenry, we field the questions from various citizens throughout the course I'd say for the last year, for that matter, finding out what exactly is going to happen as of January 1st. So from a communication standpoint, we've activated a section on the website, and for your benefit and for the benefit of people watching tonight, it's an overview of what we are in measure of presenting to the public. We've created a section on the website for local governance reform. That section will evolve as time goes by. We have a number of data sets and a number of questions that we can answer now, some questions that we don't have the answers to yet, pending follow-up from the provincial government. Whenever those information are clarified to us, then we will relay it to the public via the website. So if you look at the website right now, the added section is on top. At present, we have 3 added sections to the site. We've got what is a reform, including a series of frequently asked questions, the new boundaries, what the new boundaries are, and who will provide services. And that is a question of interest for people, especially if we're looking at what is Ward 1, what is Ward 2, what about police services, what about fire services, how will that be impacted? And those are some of the questions that we've been fielding. Another section will be added once we get that information from the provincial government, and that is in regards to the tax rate. So, and that will be coming up hopefully in the next short while. So if we go and access the first part, what is a reform is essentially explaining and outlining generalities insofar as what will be happening as of January 1st, and through consultation with Mr. Pedrigo, Mrs. Gauvin, and with the work from Jean-Sébastien Chasson and Gord, our GIS wizard, for lack of a better word, we've formulated a series of 14 general questions that can give some guidelines to the citizens insofar as how their services will be impacted. And those 14 questions, it's just a simple click, drop down, and here's your answer. Those questions will also be relayed to our reception area, so whenever we do field calls as well, our people at the reception will be able to respond in kind to the people that are calling in. We can refer them to the website, and at the same time give them more information with everything that's on the website. And the good thing about the site as well is it's not a social media where you have a user log on and whatnot. It's really readily accessible to everybody. So that is the first section that is of relevance. One question that's been brought forth on a number of occasions, and even though there's been a lot of communications insofar as what the boundaries are, what the old boundaries and what the new ones are, that's been a point of concern for some citizens to wonder exactly where they are and where they fit in to the new boundaries. And with this, this is an interactive map where you can actually go in and put in an address of where you live. You had a street, Jason? 21 Jason Street? Avenue. So essentially, it's an easy process, and this one here, boom, it brings you right into the specific area, which shows exactly where that location is. And if I just go back here, it shows the area as being within the boundaries of Ward 2, so that person qualifies as a new citizen of the city of Bathurst starting January 2023. So some who have questions to find out exactly where they are, where they fit into the whole scheme, this is where they can find that out. What's been added as well, who would provide services? And that is a key question. The example that you know is the police services. What happens with the boundaries as of January 1st? Within the existing city boundaries, the services will be provided by the Bathurst Police Force. Outside of those boundaries, it is continuity with the services from the RCMP for the time being. Those questions are presented in another interactive map, and if you see on the screen on the right, you do have a breakdown of what those services are and where they're being offered, and you can actually also as well clicking on the map that shows specifically what the services are. And one step further as well, if you look at, I'll bring it down, I put this as a high resolution, make sure we can fit everything in. If we look at, say, snow removal and snow maintenance, for example. Hello, where is it? Right here. Okay, so, well, it's on the right, but essentially, the question was, do I call the city or do I call somebody else? Do I call the province? So all the information is input into that system, and for 2023, those are the numbers that they'll be able to reach. Now, that content can and will evolve whenever we do have new information coming across insofar as any type of services, animal protection services or animal control services. We do have the situation with the SPCA survey providing services in Bathurst. What will happen 2 or 3 or 4 months down the road? We don't know that as of yet. Once we get those updates, we'll update this information, and that'll go on as well. The next slide, which is not integrated as of yet, is for the tax rate. As you recall, at the budget meeting, you recommended the tax rate for the city of Bathurst to be maintained on 1.775 per $100. We don't have that information from the province as of yet. Hopefully that will happen within the next week or two. Once that's done, we will integrate the map with the tax rate relative to all of these areas for Ward 1 and Ward 2. So that is a quick outline. And again, this information will be updated as is warranted. Insofar as having the information on site, we do have cooperative efforts as well from other entities, but of note, if I look at the traffic that we do have on the website for the last 2 or 3 months, we just did a quick snapshot of the number of sessions. When I see sessions, as an individual, I log on, I go onto the city website and I go peruse from one page to the other to the other. If I go through 10 or 15 pages, that's one session. We average between 300 and 1,000 sessions on a daily basis. So there's a good level of traffic on the website. So, and that kind of confirms that the approach is rather sound. And it's also consistent with other municipalities in the province, namely the city of Fredericton, Moncton, St. John. They do have the same kind of an interface, not necessarily with the same questions because everybody's situation is rather different, but it's a consistent approach across the province. So that's a quick snapshot. Insofar as promoting it, we use obviously our social media, the e-billboard at the corner of the Harborview Boulevard. We've actually activated that to highlight a number of specific initiatives for the city. Reformers being one of them, redirecting people to the website, and I think that kind of generates a lot of interest on the website as well.
Great. Thank you, Mr. Fulham. I wanted to, and it was funny because this week or last week I was going by your office, dropped by and realized you guys were working on that, and I'm like, okay, you got to come and present that. Is it ready? Can we present it? Are we good to go with this? So I want to say thank you to you and Jean-Sébastien for working on this. And Mr. Pettigrew, you wanted to add something before
Yeah, thank you, Worship. Again, for the timeline, there was some numbers that we were waiting for the province to get some answers back for us so that we can update the services. But I think it's important to mention, and we spoke with the communications department in the last few days on this, that they will be available if somebody does not have access to social media, that they can contact the front desk or reception, and they will be able to provide them a copy of the contact numbers and the information. But I think it's key, Mr. Fulham and Mr. Chesson advised me of some information today with regards to the users of, because currently those providers in the wards too would be part of the Regional Service Commission information with regards to, you know, data collection of when your garbage collection is and recycling. So he provided some interesting stats today of the number of users in those areas that actually have signed up for it. So I think we'll gather, did you want to mention that?
Yeah, if I look at some of these numbers from the Service Commission, it's relative to the whole of the region, but it's rather indicative of the prominent level of traffic. The number, if anybody have access to it, you can download the mobile app on your phone, whether it's phone or Apple. They have over 6,500 downloads. That means 6,500 phones have that app on on. They also have different methodologies as well, and reflective of the technical or technological capabilities of the user. They can actually, you can actually log on to sign up to an email service, text by phone, or even voice messages. I guess Alexa has from Amazon has brothers and sisters, and they're in this world as well. So you can actually get a phone messages reminding you that tomorrow is garbage or recyclable day. So that information is possible. So we've been pushing for the mobile app, but we'll also be activating a push for all the other associated services. And insofar as the mobile app sessions, they've had, for this calendar year alone, 140,000 sessions on the mobile app, which is pretty intense. On the website, it's the same thing as an app, but relative to the website, 32,000 sessions on the website. So there's been a good level of traffic. Now, obviously, putting this out there, we'll be able to push it a lot more, and especially with the other technology that has been made available, we can actually make a good jump and really help reach out to pretty much everybody across the spectrum. And as Mr. Pettigrew said, the fact list, the question list that is on the website, readily printed to be able to send off to anybody who asks, who calls in and who would like to have some of that information. We can print on demand, much as the same way that we actually do with the garbage and recyclable collection.
We do have a question, but before we continue, so of course, this is just the beginning. You know, there are certain questions that we cannot answer because we don't have the information. When we're talking about tax base, and I don't want to start everybody panicking in the city of Bathurst, so our tax rate, we've chosen to keep it status quo. I doubt the province would change it on us. That's where we sent it in. But where it is we're talking more around the regional service district that falls within the city limits. They pay a different tax rate. There's a small increase that's going to come into play with the discussions with the province. We're waiting after them to see what the final rate will be. You know, again, with the RCMP, there's going to be a lot of changes. You know, the province is going to be keeping the roads and garbage for now. That's going to change eventually. The municipal plan, that's going to change eventually. So as we move along, this, at least there's a site where we can go to, and especially because I can't tell you how many people have asked me, am I falling in within the city limits? Now I'm just going to send them to the website, punch it, or I'm going to give me a sec, click, click, click. What's your address? Yeah, you do.
Boom.
You know, so that in itself is big. And as we go, we will try to find, you know, we'll try to find ways to reach people that don't have social media or people that don't have access to a website. Or a lot of times they can ask their children to help them out for the elderlies, but at least it's a beginning and step in the right direction.
And one area that I would say that will grow, un endroit qui va grandir, c'est les questions fréquemment posées.
Oui.
Plus qu'on va y aller, plus qu'il y aura des éléments qui vont être soulevés, qui vont être ajoutés à cette liste-là.
Oui.
Les autres, ce qui a trait au taux d'imposition, mais lui, ça va être bien clair. Voici les nouveaux taux tels qu'approuvés par la province.
Oui.
Du moins, l'information sera accessible au public. Mais plus qu'il y aura des détails qui seront en demande, sur la première page, c'est là qu'il y aura beaucoup d'ajouts sur la première page.
Oui, exactement. C'est là où ça va devenir très important. Councillor Burnett.
Thanks, Madam Mayor. I was glad to hear our city manager say that they can get hard copies and they call the front desk City Hall. Will those people walk them through how to get to the website and where to go on it? The front desk people, will they walk the citizens through that don't deal with social media?
Yes, they are trained in that, and to show them where to find the information online if they need to. But yeah, they will provide a copy if they have to. They will make it available to be picked up if they want to pick it up. There's still numerous individuals at some points with the example would be the collection for the garbage and recycling. We still provide a paper copy if they want it. We put it in an envelope and they come and pick it up at City Hall. So we still provide that service and we still provide that for them. But definitely we talked about water bills and we talked about sending information packages out. But in this situation where the new areas that we're encompassing are not current users of our water system, we're not going to get that information to them through that usage because it's you know, we're current customers that have the questions or the new users or the residents are not part of that system yet, so we're not going to use that platform to mail that stuff out. But we will be available. But what's important is with 85% or 95% of current new residents that are apt to using apps and the internet, we're gaining 85 or 90% of the population already using that technology. So then we'll have to make sure we can get it to the others if they need that assistance, but we will provide that.
Now, tonight we had a good presentation on snow removal, which is coming up this week by the looks of it. People that are in the new areas now might be confused who to call if they're not getting the snow removed. Who do they call? Like, do we still have a crossover doing some provincial roads, or is that all just us now?
Thank you, Your Worship. If you can see, if you can go back to that screen, there is a DTI 1-800 number that for anyone that lives within Ward 2, and it says it. So if you look at that map, you'll see our current ones in Ward 1. If you look at Ward 1, which is what I call the old city limits, or the current city limits, because it's not the new ones yet until January 1st. But that'll show our number and the 1-800, the 548-0444 number, or 548-0400 to contact in that ward. For the other ones that are in Ward 2, shows the 1-800 DTI number, and that was confirmed with DTI. It's the current operation. They're responsible. They have a 1-800 number that you call, or the residents will call. Same current operation that they currently operate in today. Because it doesn't change for us, they provide all operations. So this one here you can see for snow removal, which is Ward 1, which is ours, is 548-0400. And if you click on Ward number 2.
Let me just zoom in a bit here.
Because it's very small on that laptop.
Yeah. Okay, so if I click on Ward 2 here, that's where all the listings and services, and those numbers have been validated insofar as what service will be in 2023, and road maintenance and snow removal being one of the key ones. What number do they call? They have a 1-800 number that that they can call, or sorry.
Yeah, it's right there, 1-833-384-4111.
And
so that's the number
it's also by email, and that's for residents of Ward 1, residents of Ward 2. Oh, geez. That's been the process that they've had. So they've had the same number that they've been in use prior to the reform. We confirmed that today. That is the same number going forward for 2023. 2024, well, it depends on what the formula of the service will be back then. And that's the kind of information that will evolve. So the key point here is if I click on Ward 1, I'll get the coordinates for the city of Bathurst for the services. If I click on Ward 2, is the service being offered as has been, or has it evolved? And that data will be updated as we move up. So, and the easiest way here is people to just bookmark the website and check it on a regular basis or whatnot to get, or if they have any questions, they can go back to it. If we have updates, we would definitely push the updates and through various other means, whether through the news or through our social media feeds as well.
Thank you.
All right. Perfect. Merci beaucoup, Monsieur Poulam. Monsieur Chasson.
So the following items are proposed, the following items are information on proposed amendments and policies to a bylaw. 3.1 is the proposed changes to policy 2015-03 special awards policy. So a temporary committee was assigned to review the policy and make recommendations to members of council. The following changes were made. Under Section 1, Freeman of the City, the residency clause was changed from 15 years to 5 years, this allowing for more nominations of a Freeman. In Section 2, Key to the City, keys may be offered to individuals who achieve distinction under the regional, provincial, national, or international scene. So we added regional to this category. Other minor changes have been made through the policy to standardize information. So this policy will be brought to next Monday's meeting for ratification. I don't know if anyone has any more comments or questions to add to this.
Did council have questions about some of them small changes we wanted to make? No? Okay.
Perfect. So 3.2 is a proposed new policy for adopt a street and hydrant. This policy was pretty well revamped. So the temporary committee that was assigned to revise this policy, they simplified the application process and they added hydrants as a part of the program. So citizens may choose to adopt a fire hydrant within city boundaries. And the purpose of this program is to promote citizen participation and to beautify our community. Other minor changes that were brought to the policy are to standardize the information. And again, this policy will be brought to council next week for ratification.
Okay. Was there any questions on that one? No. Okay, so just so you know, with the reform, we're adding 2 new counselors to the group in January, where I think we're swearing them in next week, Madame Saint-Laurent, if I'm not mistaken, next Monday evening?
That's correct.
Okay. So we are Ms. Saint-Laurent and myself are looking at some of the committees. We might be making some changes, and when we look at that one, which we will have an employee involved in the committee. We'll probably have 2 counselors like we normally did, but then we're going to go to the citizens to try to get citizens involved, and it will be led by a city employee to make sure that the meetings and, you know, that we continue moving forward. So we're going to be making some changes to some of the committees, but I think it's going to be, it will be to our advantage and to make sure that the committee's transitions through the year work much better. All right?
Point 3.3, c'est proposition d'un nouvel arrêté désignant les parties de la route à l'intérieur de la ville de Bathurst accessibles au VTT. Pour plus d'1 an, la ville, en collaboration avec le club VTT, travaille pour ajouter plus de routes à l'intérieur des limites de la ville accessibles au VTT. Le 6 décembre, nous avons reçu l'approbation de la proposition de l'arrêté du ministre de Sécurité et publique. Ce soir, j'ai invité M. Jacques Ouellette, c'est le représentant de Quad NB, pour présenter les nouvelles routes qui seront accessibles au VTT après la 3e lecture de l'arrêté. M. Ouellette?
Bonsoir.
Bonsoir.
Merci de m'accueillir.
Finalement!
Je m'ennuie de vous autres.
Ben oui, on dirait ça fait longtemps. Hein?
Ah,
Ça fait quoi,
ben
1 an?
plus que ça,
oui.
Ouais, 7 ans même que je fais plus de couverture médiatique. Je m'ennuie de ça. Disons que c'est plus plate dans le bois avec des arbres que de rencontrer des gens comme vous.
Non, mais là, je parle de votre dernière présentation parce que ça fait quelque temps qu'on essayait d'avoir ces routes-là.
Oui.
Le fait que ça a été approuvé par la province.
Oui.
Ouais.
C'est un gros morceau pour nous parce que c'est l'étape la plus cruciale. Vous avez voté l'arrêté pour la première lecture et c'est ce qu'il faut faire maintenant. On jette sur papier ce que l'on demande. Il faut envoyer l'information, l'arrêté, ce qu'on appelle le draft, à la sécurité publique. Eux ont un comité de travail ils étudient ça avec le ministère des Transports. Il y a des consultations qui se font avec les différents départements de la province. Nous, on gère tous les départements. Vous autres, c'est encore plus compliqué un petit peu parce que je dirais même que depuis 10 ans que je suis avec la Fédération, c'est pas mal le plus complexe qu'on a eu à travailler. Merci beaucoup, Wanda, parce que travail extraordinaire.
Merci.
Patience. Beaucoup de patience. Elle est très patiente. Donc, ce qu'il faut faire, c'est qu'il faut envoyer l'arrêté à Fredericton. Puis, ce comité-là, ensuite, nous retourne les recommandations, les directives ou les changements. Dans ce cas-ci, ce qui avait été suggéré au départ, si on recule un petit peu, en novembre 2020, les municipalités ont reçu une directive du ministère des Transports que toutes les rues ou toutes les emprises qui étaient à l'intérieur de vos municipalités, si vous vouliez avoir des VTT sur ces rues-là ou ces emprises-là, c'était à vous de prendre la décision. Par contre, ce que quelqu'un n'avait pas considéré, c'est que la route 11, c'est une emprise, c'est une route à accès limité. Étant une route à accès limité, c'est un comité complètement séparé du reste. Donc, il y a des rues qui sont du ministère des Transports qu'on a pu inclure dans l'arrêté. Les ponts, les structures de ponts ne vous appartiennent pas, elles appartiennent à la province. Donc, on a pu inclure ils sont tous numérotés, ces ponts-là. Là. Il y en a 3 dans ce cas-ci. Alors, ils sont tous dans l'arrêté municipal. Là, maintenant qu'on a reçu l'approbation du ministère des Transports, vous pouvez procéder à l'adoption de l'arrêté municipal. Par contre, il faut faire attention. Dans votre arrêté, vous nous avez soumis une condition. C'est qu'on ne permettrait pas aux quadistes de circuler sur les rues incluses dans l'arrêté municipal, tant et aussi longtemps qu'on n'aurait pas construit le sentier longeant la route 11 sur l'emprise du ministère des Transports. Alors, c'est ça qui a retardé un petit peu parce que là, la sécurité publique nous a retourné le draft en nous disant « Vous ne pouvez pas inclure dans votre arrêté la partie qui est sur l'emprise du ministère des Transports. » Alors, on va enlever ça, c'est ce qu'on a fait, on a enlevé. C'est la seule chose qu'on nous a demandé d'enlever et aussi de réduire la limite de vitesse. Parce qu'au niveau de la province, on veut une uniformité, que toutes les municipalités qui acceptent les quads sur leur rue, c'est 40 km partout, sans condition. Donc, ça porte moins en confusion, c'est combien à Bathurst, c'est combien à Chediac. oh là, faut que... Non, c'est 40 km partout. Donc, les gens savent maintenant que s'ils sont sur une rue municipale qui fait partie d'un arrêté, c'est 40 km. Que ce soit 80 km. Par contre, c'est toujours bien indiqué, 40 km à l'heure ou le maximum prescrit par la municipalité. Si c'est 30 km, alors c'est 30 km. Si vous regardez la carte à gauche, l'annexe A, qu'on appelle l'annexe A, ça a déjà été adopté. C'était déjà dans un arrêté. Par contre, vu qu'on ajoutait des rues, la sécurité publique nous a dit, dès qu'ils vont adopter le nouvel arrêté, cet arrêté-là va abroger ou canceller l'autre arrêté. Alors, ce qui veut dire que dans le nouvel arrêté, il fallait inclure ce qui a déjà été approuvé, qui est l'annexe A, qui est déjà là. Ensuite de ça, on voit l'annexe B. L'annexe B, c'est pour partir du chemin de la rue Maine pour aller rejoindre ce qu'on appelle la West Drive. À partir, dans ce secteur-là, vous remarquez qu'il y a plusieurs rues, mais là aussi, le ministère des Transports a donné son accord, puis tout le monde est heureux avec ça, puis il n'y a personne qui voit de problème, et ainsi de suite. Et là, on va joindre la West Drive. Arrivé à la West Drive, c'est là que nous, on a demandé de construire un nouveau sentier qui va longer la route 11 jusqu'à la rue Ryan. Je fais ça, Luc, c'est bien ça. Alors, vous voyez que sur la rue Ryan, dans l'arrêté, tout ce que vous voyez sur l'annexe, vous allez vous dire, puis il y a beaucoup de municipalités qui me disent ça, ben oui, mais ça vous donne quoi, là? Vous allez où à part ça? Ben c'est parce que vu que ce n'est pas dans l'arrêté, que c'est un permis d'utilisation de route, c'est ce qu'il a fallu exclure de votre arrêté. Pour ça, il faut attendre le PUR, le permis d'utilisation de route, qui va venir du ministère des Transports, qui va nous être livré quand vous allez avoir adopté votre arrêté. C'est pour ça que nous, on vous demande ce soir, dès que vous aurez la possibilité d'adopter l'arrêté, nous, ça va nous permettre de faire pression au niveau du ministère des Transports et recevoir notre permis d'utilisation de route. L'utilisation de route qu'on a demandé, il y en a deux. Et si vous regardez sur l'autre carte, l'annexe D, l'annexe D, c'est sur la Rough Waters. La Rough Waters, l'autre bonne nouvelle qu'il y a aussi, on vient de faire l'acquisition d'une petite portion, vous vous souvenez, conseiller Brunet, le débat qu'il y a eu plusieurs années passées pour avoir accès à l'ancien lit ferroviaire, bien, la section restante, on l'a acheté, ce qui va nous permettre de connecter Bathurst jusqu'à Perth Andover, faire toute la couronne nord, Edmundston, Saint-Quentin, Campbellton, Dalhousie, Jacket River, et revenir à Bathurst, traverser Bathurst et faire toute la connexion. Il y a une autre boucle dans la péninsule acadienne qu'on est en train de faire. Donc, si vous regardez ça attentivement, vous allez comprendre que ce que nous sommes en train de faire, c'est de faire en sorte que Bathurst soit l'épicentre de ce nouveau circuit touristique-là, qui va représenter au-dessus de 1500 km, le premier dans la province. Et cette portion-là, qui nous manque pour traverser Bathurst, elle est cruciale pour nous. Okay? C'est notre battement de cœur pour développer cette industrie-là. Alors, ce qui veut dire que le reste qui s'en vient, c'est la partie sur la Vanier, à partir de la Ryan, aller jusqu'à l'entrée du Atlantic Coast. Il y a des discussions qui sont en cours avec la Première Nation pour se rendre à leur future station-service. Et de ce que j'entends, ça regarde très bien. Mais ça, inquiétez-vous pas avec ça, ça c'est notre problème au niveau de la Fédération pour gérer ça avec le ministère des Transports. L'arrêté, c'est simple, comme je vous dis, vous avez déjà voté en première lecture. Les seuls changements qui ont eu, on a enlevé l'accès le long de la route 11, l'accès sur la Vanier, et aussi, c'est un autre groupe, si j'ai bien compris, d'ingénieurs au niveau de la province. Les parties on appelle ça les viaducs, les ponts qui traversent la route 11, c'est un système complètement séparé. Donc, il faut avoir la permission de ces personnes-là, de cet exécutif-là qu'on appelle, qui sont des ingénieurs de différentes régions de la province. Et eux ont déjà accepté verbalement. Il y a eu beaucoup d'inspections de fait. Il y a eu beaucoup de visites de fait dans la dernière année au niveau du ministère des Transports, votre force policière, les ingénieurs du ministère des Transports. Il y a eu des visites de fait aussi avec votre responsable des bassins versants parce qu'on traverse une source d'alimentation en eau potable, la vôtre. Donc, tout ce travail de terrain-là a été fait. Tous les gens ont été consultés. Là, maintenant, la note finale vous appartient. Et puis, on est confiant que ça va se faire. On souhaite construire le nouveau sentier l'été prochain. je vais juste vous mettre en perspective pour terminer. Le club VTT Chaleur va avoir investi 1,4 million de dollars cette année dans ses sentiers. Construction de 5 ponts dont la longueur varie de 14 à 170 pieds. Le plus gros est en construction présentement sur la rivière Jacket. Et puis, il y a eu la construction d'un point de départ aussi à Nigadou, 250 000 $. Ça, c'est une contribution de la province, du Fonds d'attaque sur l'essence. Donc, si vous regardez ça, vous avez le club qui investit le plus au niveau de la province, puis je dirais même dans l'Est du Canada. Alors, on est privilégié d'avoir des gens formidables qui gèrent ce club-là. Nous, on est là pour les appuyer et puis les aider lorsqu'ils ont besoin de notre expertise ou nos connaissances. Voilà.
Bravo.
Merci.
Bravo. Et c'est vrai. Côté touristique, c'est motoneige en hiver, puis les quadres ou les 4 roues été, printemps, automne, même en hiver.
Oui.
Conseiller Leblanc.
Merci, Madame la mairesse. Merci pour la présentation. Vraiment
Merci.
apprécié. J'aimerais commencer en disant que j'applaudis vos efforts, surtout votre vision. Ça se tient.
Merci.
Ça se tient. Il y a une logique derrière le tout. J'ai pas grande question à part vous dire merci pour tout ce que vous avez fait. Seule question, c'est par pure curiosité. Il y a combien de membres dans votre club?
Le club VTT Chaleur et l'année dernière, pour 6 années de suite, a été le plus gros club de quad à l'est du Canada, en partant de Québec, aller jusque dans les Maritimes. Cette année, c'est le fun parce qu'ils sont ex-aequo avec un autre club de la province, 1580 membres, mais l'année passée, le club Chaleur avait 1640 membres. On sait pourquoi, c'est parce que les gens s'impatientaient. Il y avait la chasse à l'as, puis tout le monde disait, ben oui, vous faites de l'argent, mais vous n'investissez pas. Mais ce que les gens ne comprennent pas, avant d'investir, nous, il faut passer à travers 10 réglementations qu'on ne peut pas déroger de. Et puis là, le sentier qui était tellement en attente, c'est le pont sur la rivière Nigadou, qui va être complété dans les prochaines semaines. Le sentier qui va partir de Nigadou, qui va se rendre à Tirocher. Nigadou qui a donné accès à toutes ses rues dans sa municipalité. Tirocher qui a fait de la même chose. Je suis pas mal convaincu que l'année prochaine, le club va reprendre son statut de plus gros club de la province. Puis moi, au niveau de la fédération, je trouve ça fort intéressant de voir que maintenant, il y a 3 clubs qui se mènent le combat. Puis ils sont répartis dans différentes régions de la province. Mais je dois dire aussi que le club VTT Chaleur est le plus gros club quad d'hiver. C'est eux qui ont le plus grand nombre de membres de permis d'hiver. Ouais. Puis c'est ce qui fait la différence pour nous, parce qu'on est là 4 saisons. Et puis ce sentier-là, lorsqu'il sera ouvert, c'est... Moi, je ne dis pas, on ne veut pas remplacer une industrie, mais on veut l'appuyer. On veut la supporter. Puis, vous savez, l'hiver, quand la motoneige ne marche pas, là, parce qu'il n'y a plus ou que le temps ne se prête pas, c'est là que nous, on est fort. Puis c'est là qu'on veut permettre aux entreprises d'ici d'éviter de subir cette chute-là causée par Dame Nature. Puis on le vit de plus en plus, les changements climatiques. Nous, on prend de plus en plus notre place. Puis c'est pas parce qu'on veut enlever celle des autres, c'est parce que notre sport s'y prête bien. Et aussi, il ne faut pas oublier non plus que les sentiers qu'on construit, je voyais ça en fin de semaine, je suis allé couper du bois puis sur un sentier, puis il y a 4 types qui sont arrivés, puis avec 2 scies à chaîne, j'ai dit, parce que vous allez, ils ont dit, nous, on va se faire un sentier pour fat bike. Mais j'ai dit, pourquoi vous faites ça? Nous, on construit, on va dépenser 175 000 $, on vient de bâtir 2 ponts, puis le sentier, il est pour vous autres aussi. Ben, on dit, on va ranger nos scies à chaîne. Puis, ben, c'est ça, c'est ce qui fait notre force aussi, parce que tout ce qu'on fait là, le sentier le long de la route 11, c'est la suite aussi, les gens qui vont vouloir faire du fat bike. Puis il y a un sentier de fat bike qui est juste à côté, parallèle au nouveau qu'on va faire. Ils sont inclus. On a eu des rencontres avec les autres, puis on sait ce qu'ils veulent, puis on va les financer, puis la chasse à l'as le reprend bientôt, puis c'est tout cet argent-là. La chasse à l'as a rapporté $1 million au club VTT Chaleur. Sans ça, on n'aurait pas pu faire les projets qu'on fait là. Donc, oui, peut-être que je parle longtemps, mais ce qui vaut notre succès, c'est qu'on aime amener les autres groupes avec nous, puis travailler ensemble, puis faire en sorte que tout le monde en bénéficie.
Nous autres, on est bien heureux d'aider, de faire partie de votre succès. Mais il y a une retombée évidemment positive pour nous autres aussi. Que moi, je vois.
Oui.
Je vois plusieurs mille VTT venir à Bathurst également. Comme tu dis, c'est l'épicentre, été comme hiver. Fait que c'est très avantageux. C'est tout ce que j'avais à mentionner. Encore une fois, un gros merci. Puis j'espère qu'une fois qu'on va avoir tout regardé, qu'on va pouvoir adopter ceci rapidement.
Merci.
Conseiller Willett?
Merci, Madame la mairesse. Merci beaucoup pour le travail. Nous autres, moi, je vois ça que une fois que la route est faite, que la trail est faite, on va avoir beaucoup de succès, beaucoup de monde qui va venir. Je connais du monde qui ont pris leur VTT puis qui ont été à Terre-Neuve cette année, puis ils ont fait la trail à Terre-Neuve. Ça fait que imagine-toi dépenser des 3-4 000 piastres pour aller faire du VTT, puis nous autres, on va être capable de faire presque toute la province au complet. Ça fait que ça va vraiment être intéressant, ça.
Il ne faut pas oublier non plus que les retombées économiques, à l'heure actuelle, sans compter le tourisme et tout ça, juste pour la région Chaleur, sont de 37 millions de dollars. Puis, je parlais de ça, je suis allé faire une présentation à une autre municipalité, puis il y a quelqu'un qui a dit « Je te défie de me le prouver. » Bien, j'ai dit « Je te défie de prouver que je ne suis pas correct avec mon calcul. » Et puis, on a utilisé trois sondages qui ont été faits, un par la CIOHV, un par la province de la Nouvelle-Écosse et un par nous au niveau de la fédération. Puis, ce sont tous des sondeurs professionnels qui ont été embauchés. Puis, on revient tous à la même affaire, on revient tous au même résultat. Donc, ici, on utilise la moyenne de dépenses que les gens font et on multiplie ça par le nombre de quads qui sont vendus dans la région. Puis le résultat nous amène à 37 millions.
Oui.
C'est intéressant. On me dit que bientôt dans la nouvelle année, hein, ça va arriver plus tôt que plus tard.
Un beau cadeau du jour de l'an.
Un beau cadeau du jour de l'an.
Merci. On peut demander mieux.
Merci beaucoup.
Merci
à vous.
Merci.
Sur section 4, rapport des comités, nous avons un rapport du comité consultatif de Bathurst sur la condition des personnes ayant un handicap. C'est par le conseiller Leblanc.
Merci, Madame Saint-Laurent. Thank you, Madam Mayor, also for allowing me this time to speak about this new committee that was recently formed. In this city of ours, we have very dedicated citizens who have nothing but the well-being of others at heart. And that should bring pride to all who have the pleasure of living in our distinguished region. In early November, I had the pleasure of attending the first meeting of the Disabilities and Inclusiveness Committee. We were 4 at that first meeting, and last Thursday at the AGM, 2 more citizens, including 1 new citizen to our region, were voted onto the board. This committee's goal is to educate the population on ways to be more inclusive when it comes to people with disabilities. There's a multitude of disabilities, and often we do not think of some of the easy ways to create better opportunities for inclusiveness. Right? It's understandable, because at the end of the day, we do not know what we do not know. I know that in my first 2 meetings, I've already learned much about this subject, and even if I am the proud parent of a child with a disability, believe me, if there's anything I've realized is I know nothing. And early in 2023, we're going to have a member of this newly formed committee come give our city a presentation on inclusiveness and ways to be more aware and inclusive in the things we do, things that we build, and activities that we organize. Yes, accessibility is important, but inclusiveness is just as important, and in some cases, it's even more important. And for this, again, I'd like to thank you both for allowing me this time to talk about this newly formed committee. Thank you.
Merci, conseiller Leblanc. C'était un de mes comités auparavant, puis on dirait que ça s'avait comme perdu dans les champs, dans les années, surtout avec la pandémie. Et je suis vraiment contente de voir que ça revient. Et vous avez raison, c'est que souvent, quand on regarde, je vais utiliser une activité qu'on a faite l'année passée avec l'association multiculturelle. On avait fait le festival Fiesta au Parc Coronation. Sans y penser, on s'est tout installé les tentes, mais sur la piste où ce que les gens marchent. En faisant ça, on a enlevé accessibilité aux gens qui avaient de la difficulté à marcher, à ceux avec la chaise roulante. Jamais pour pas mal faire, mais c'est qu'on ne s'est pas mis dans leurs souliers. Et on a appris. Et ce jour-là, on s'est dit, ben oui, pourquoi qu'on ne s'est pas juste installé, puis donner la piste aux gens qui pouvaient avoir plus la facilité d'être capable de faire le tour du parc puis de voir, tu sais, chaque tente, qu'est-ce qu'ils offraient. Tandis que là, on les a mis dans une situation que c'est plus difficile, puis qui ont viré de bord, puis sont pas venus au lieu. Encore, c'est pas par méchanceté. C'est juste, on n'a vraiment pas réalisé, et c'est là l'importance d'avoir des gens qui peuvent nous approcher. Et j'étais tellement contente qu'on a eu des gens qui ont été honnêtes assez de nous dire, vous avez fait ça, puis vous l'avez pas réalisé. Je vous garantis que ça va pas s'arriver de nouveau. C'est là où c'est des petites choses qui, si, comme vous dites, vous avez une fille qui a quand même, qui fait partie de ce spectrum-là, mais vous en apprenez encore aujourd'hui. C'est...
Elle a une disability, si tu veux, on va utiliser le mot anglophone, excusez-moi, là.
Oui.
Mais il y en a plein. Tu sais. Puis même pour elle, parfois encore, elle arrive à 24 ans, je réalise, ah non, je peux pas faire ça à elle. C'est normal, cruel de ma part de ne pas penser à ça. C'est non, tout, c'est comme ce que vous dites là. Ça, c'est vraiment les deux, accessibility et l'inclusion.
Oui.
Vous avez éliminé les deux sans faire expo.
Oui.
Je sais que tu es une très bonne personne, Madame la mairesse, mais sans le savoir, on y pense pas. Ça fait que oui, ça va être vraiment bien d'avoir ces gens-là qui vont nous le rappeler.
Oui.
Et puis, je vous ai dit, pas de gêne, vous pouvez venir nous parler à tous les trimestres.
Oui, oh, oui, avec plaisir.
La plupart des gens sont des bonnes personnes et ont le bien-être de tout le monde à cœur. Mais on y pense pas à ces choses-là.
Non. Puis, tu sais, je dirais, c'était pas juste moi, on était un comité. On était presque une vingtaine avec des volontaires. Il n'y en a pas un d'entre nous qui a réalisé. Pas un d'entre nous qui l'a mentionné. Ça, ça m'a réveillé une lumière en me disant, tu aurais dû savoir mieux, surtout que tu faisais partie de ce comité-là.
J'aimerais, comme ça, conclure sur une chose. J'aimerais
Oui.
que tout le monde le prenne comme Madame la mairesse l'a pris. Et comme je l'ai pris quand on m'a signalé à quel point que j'étais innocent dans ma vie, de façon de voir, mettons, la situation, c'est de pas de vouloir s'acharner ou s'astiner ou de se défendre. C'est de dire, excusez, je vais essayer de faire mieux la prochaine fois.
Oui, exactement. Merci d'avoir amené un genre de mise à jour au comité, puis au plaisir d'avoir une présentation dans la nouvelle année.
Merci.
Bon, mais avec tout ça, je vous souhaite tous une belle soirée. Thank you, everyone. Next Monday, I have a feeling it's going to be a long meeting. Ça va être une grosse soirée, juste surtout avant les fêtes. Il va y avoir l'inauguration de nos 2 nouveaux conseillers qui vont embarquer avec nous. Et c'est aux gens de la communauté, joignez-nous lundi soir prochain. Please join us next Monday evening, either in person. You're more than welcome to come in at City Hall. Meeting starts at 6:30, if not, online. Have a good evening, everyone, and we'll see each other next week. Bonsoir.